All right, guys, we are in progress of a follow-up from, again, yesterday's video. I'm doing this acclimation hack to explain why the R8 overheats so easily in some circumstances, and in other circumstances it does not. So, quick recap over the last few videos. The other day it was 106 degrees out. I wanted to see how long the Canon R8 would last in 106 degree temperatures, basically summer in the South. If you live in Texas or Florida, or sorry, I'm getting chased by a bee. You know, if you live in the South, you're gonna get 106 degree temps someday. And so I turned on the R8 at 4K 60, hit record, and it overheated in 2 minutes. And I wanted to go back and see if it would give me additional time at 4K 30, and it wouldn't even let me turn the camera on. I mean, I'm even like 7 minutes later, it hadn't cooled off at all. And so I wasn't able to test that. So the next day, which was yesterday, I decided I was gonna retest this, and I was gonna see what would happen if I just started out at 4K 60, how much time I could get on a warm, but not like super hot day. And the idea is I'm replicating what would happen if you took a camera like this and used it as a travel camera. So you would be carrying it around outside, maybe not in the sun, but it would be in the heat. And my thinking was I would turn it on, it would already be most of the way overheating, and it would give me like 30 seconds of recording anything before it shut down. But in fact, it was just the opposite. And at 4K 30, it ran for roughly, I think it was 10 minutes, and it never even brought up this little warning bars at all. So at 10 minutes, I mean, I'm never gonna need a 10-minute clip if I'm doing some sort of travel vlog or some sort of video like that. I was like, that's so weird. And so I came to the conclusion that the camera is actually acclimating, and then the overheat warning is tied to how fast the temperature is raising. So it's like if the camera goes directly from a refrigerated house to outside in yesterday's case, I think it was 93 degree heat, that change, the speed of that change causes the camera to freak out and think it's overheating more so than how hot the actual camera is in absolute value. You know what I mean? So, and that would explain why anytime you put your hand on it, it wouldn't feel warm like at all. So that raises the obvious question. Some of you guys asked this in the comments, like what would happen if you acclimated the camera, which I think is actually a ridiculous programming choice by them. And you cannot give Canon a pass on this. They've been making cameras for 100 years. They know people take cameras outside in the summer from refrigerated houses or refrigerated cars. So I don't give them a pass on this. I think anything a company the size of Canon does is intentional, and I'm also basing this on my background as a computer programmer. Computer programmers for big companies do not just go rogue or make mistakes or don't test things. Nothing slips by them accidentally. So if it's in there for a reason. Now, you can have bugs, but this isn't the type of bug. You don't have a bug that misses the idea of, hey, like, they may take the camera outside and shoot video in the summer. I mean, that's not a bug. If that's in there, it's by design. Or they would be acknowledging it and saying they're going to fix it. Yeah, it was a stupid mistake, or we need to fix this. We have a patch coming out that'll fix it. Well, long story short, like I said, got me wondering, it got you guys wondering how long it would last if you acclimate the camera in 4K 60 and then shoot 4K 60 and see how long it would last. And so that's what we're doing right now. So the camera's been on for 14 minutes and 20 seconds, and as you can see, there's 6 or 7 bars. It's hard to tell from here because I'm behind this camera right here. I didn't even get the little thermometer, which is the first step of letting you know the camera's warming up, until 9 minutes. Okay, so we're not in the red yet, but it is rapidly heating up as I've been talking. And we're at about 15 minutes, which is, that's great. I mean, for my purposes, this is all I need. So at this point, I mean, because I would use this camera as a travel camera. If I could get 15 minutes worth of 4K 60 clips anytime I needed it, that would actually serve my purposes, because most of the time I'm probably going to be shooting like 5-6 minute clips for, again, a travel vlog or a vacation video or something like that. So looks like we got the first red bar, and at 15 minutes and 20 seconds. This is really close to, I believe, the results I got when I tested mine indoors. So again, it is strange that, like, okay, so here's the thing. Now this camera feels actually hot. Now I feel the heat coming out of the camera. Like, it's not, this is beyond just an appliance or a electronic device that's turned on. I actually feel like at this point it is getting hot. So wherever this cuts off at, I'm not going to feel, like, for lack of a better word, screwed, because I actually feel like the camera is building up heat on the inside, and when it shuts down, it's really going to need to shut down, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's kind of where we stand. I guess I'll just keep talking because I have some thoughts. Again, it's 96 degrees out right now. This is a 4K 60 test. Somebody had asked what kind of card I'd used and if I'd done a deep format on it. I use a SanDisk Extreme Pro. It's the same cards I always use. It's the same cards I've used with this camera. And yes, I've done a deep format on it. I really don't think it's the card, but I do appreciate the suggestion. Okay, looks like we have the blinking at 16 minutes and about 35 seconds is when that kicked on. So this is probably going to shut down at around 17 and a half minutes. That's totally acceptable considering it's 95 degrees out. I mean, relatively acceptable. I mean, obviously everybody wishes their camera would last longer in the heat, but it's really hot out and we're in the shade, and which is what I would do. It would obviously be less time if you're in the sun, but this, I feel like, is an acceptable, considering how small the camera is, considering the total package that you get here. I feel like this is an acceptable amount of time for a camera to run without overheating, if that makes sense. Like, this is worth taking with me. But I do think it needs a patch to recognize when it's going from inside to outside in the summer. I mean, not everybody can leave their camera out for 20 minutes before they record. That's what I did today. I just left it out. I left it outside and let it warm up to ambient temps. And all of a sudden, its thermal management is a lot better. At least it doesn't think it's overheating. So as quickly as if it goes from inside to outside, that's just a massive, okay, looks like that was about 18 minutes. I think you guys probably saw it better than I did. That's totally okay. Like, that makes this camera a functional camera. You just can't, I'm not excusing it, I'm explaining it. You just can't take it outside directly from an air-conditioned car or an air-conditioned house and start recording. You've got to give it time. And if you do, you're going to get, I guess you get around 18 minutes in 4K 60 before it overheats. So I would imagine that would translate into more time for 4K 30. I don't take anything for granted with Canon, but I imagine it would probably be able to go at least, 20-30% more. I don't know why it wouldn't. So there's that. So weird. With Canon, with the overheating thing, I really do wish they would just do it like everybody else does. And if the camera is really hot, again, it is really hot, right? Well, it isn't painful. It isn't painful at all. But I feel the buildup of heat now, and I understand why the camera shut down, and I can accept this. I feel like it's not lying to me when it says it's time to shut down, if that makes sense. Whereas before, the other day when I brought it right out of the house and it overheated in 2 minutes, I was like, nah, this is not hot. This camera's lying to me. It's lying to itself, this bad programming. And again, the upside to this is it can be fixed with a patch if we just put enough pressure on Canon and tell them we do not accept this. So other than that, there's a small battery. You got to get a bunch of them. They're cheap. Once you get past that, this is a really good camera. Like, especially with these little prime lenses. This is a 16, the 16 f2.8. It's so small. It's almost like having your cell phone. That's not true. It's not as small as a cell phone, but it is a lot smaller than a big full frame camera normally is. So yeah, there's my update. Hope you found it helpful. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'll have links to everything below if you're interested in checking this stuff out. And I appreciate you guys following this journey. It's crazy. Canon. Sheesh.